Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We have an amazing show.
That is a true statement of fact. All right, so we've got a new entrant into the presidential race. I know you all are very excited about Michael Bloomberg's candidacy. Saagar and the panel and I are all going to dig into that. We also have Brianna Joy Gray from the Sanders campaign to talk about their path to victory and to weigh in on the Smooth Bernie controversy that is rocking the nation. And we also have friend of the show, Matt Taibbi from Rolling Stone, to talk about what is fact and what is fiction in terms of Ukraine conspiracies. Did they intervene in the election? What all is going on there? He's the perfect person to talk to about that. But we're also looking at a big story this morning with regards to the Navy Secretary, Saagar.
Yeah, so the news broke late last night. Navy Secretary Richard Spencer has resigned his post, the president has already said, and named his replacement, who I believe is an ambassador to the U.S. ambassador to the Netherlands and a former admiral himself. This all centers around basically the restoring of the rank, and then it's basically Eddie Gallagher is accused of war crimes. He was acquitted in the trial. Regardless of his acquittal, the Navy wanted to expel Eddie Gallagher and particularly to remove his trident pin. Now, President Trump said, no, you're not going to expel Eddie Gallagher. You're going to allow him to retire with dignity. And the Navy said, okay, fine, we'll restore him to his rank and he can retire. But then they said he will be losing his trident pin, which is the the symbol of maintaining your SEAL membership. It's basically an honor thing. And from that point of view, the president said, no, he's going to keep his trident pin. The Navy Secretary, and I believe, the Navy Secretary and some others within the Department of Navy, according to the New York Times, had threatened to resign over the matter. And then it seems that there were a whole bunch of other machinations going on. Yeah. The Navy Secretary is out. Now, I should add, though, that the Navy Secretary in his letter says that he resigned because of the restoring or the keeping of Gallagher's pin. But this is important because the Secretary of Defense says that the Navy Secretary went to President Trump without his approval and gave him a plan for him to keep his trident pin, and the Secretary of Defense was like, you can't be going around me like that, and fired him. So it's a great Washington story about who said what, when, why are they fired, what's the deal?
Like a couple things, just to get into a little bit of what Eddie Gallagher stood accused of. What he was acquitted of was murder, the stabbing murder of a teenage ISIS militant. He was found guilty of a lesser crime, which was posing with the dead corpse, which is not acceptable. And he also is accused of a lot of other violations of protocol conduct and military law. So, there were things that happened there that, that were not acceptable, et cetera. I think, though, to get around all the inner machinations and who said this and whatever, like this comes down to this guy said negative things about Trump in the press. And Trump didn't like it. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it boils down to, is he criticized Trump's basically support of Eddie Gallagher and restoring of the rank. He did not like that this was undermining military sort of protocol and rules and regulations, and so he criticized him in the press, and Trump can't take that. I think that's what it comes down to.
I think that's also what it comes down to. But what's interesting here, though, is that, look, Eddie Gallagher, he did terrible things, but the real thing is that there hasn't been any reevaluation by the Navy and a lot of these other people as to why so many of the SEALs are in disarray right now. A lot of them have drug problems. 2 of them are being tried for murder. Eddie Gallagher, of course, seems the stress of combat.
He allegedly also talked about using drugs with fellow SEALs, shooting at civilians, et cetera.
And here's the thing. It's because we have used these guys and deployed them 14, 15 times since 9/11. I mean, what body can stand up to that level of deployment, that level of stress, PTSD? I mean, it really actually just speaks to the way that we conduct counterterrorism, is we lean so hard on these guys.
There
actually needs to be a reevaluation up at the top of, we are breaking our special operations squad. I know this is like wonky. It's not really stuff that we talk about all the time, but it's important because, look, Eddie Gallagher broke, but who isn't going to break under this type of pressure? And these endless wars, I mean, you want to talk about the real costs? These guys, I remember reading some of the IED techs and stuff who have been killed in Afghanistan, 10th, 11th deployment, 40 years old. I mean, 11 deployments at a 40-year-old man. You know what that does to your body in a combat zone?
It's such a small proportion of the public. I mean, these are like mostly working class people who are being sent over to, do the dirty work of the nation. And so I think your point is well taken. I mean, that doesn't exonerate a person of personal responsibility. But we talk about structural issues on this show, and I think this is a window into a bigger structural issue with regard to our overseas actions, our military-industrial complex, and what these men and women are being asked to take on, which is just unbelievable stress.
These guys pay the price 50 times over. And nobody in D.C. knows any of them, right? They're in Virginia Beach. They're from working class communities. And when they get killed or when they come back and they're all messed up, nobody here has to deal with it. It's the people there. It's the people in their house. And we all know they're not getting compensated properly and they're not being treated properly by the
Certainly
VA.
not when they come home and have to deal with the wounds of war, you know, whether physical or mental or otherwise. That's absolutely the case. We also have a very important controversy that has been sparked on the internet. I think it was Washington Examiner.
My friends over at the Free Beacon.
Free Beacon.
My friends over at the Free Beacon, who are great world-class trollers, said, what is going on with Bernie's smooth forehead? This comes after the Examiner. My friend Joe Simonson over at the Examiner broke the story
well, everyone
that
noticed
Joe Biden had a facelift.
He looked phenomenal
at
the debate. He looked really good at the debate. Like whoever's doing the makeup work, whoever was in charge of the lighting. There were a lot of bad things we said about the MSNBC debate, but the lighting was clearly on point. Yes, this is the greatest controversy of all time.
I think it just looks like a good makeup job.
It's good makeup.
Yeah,
he's got like a nice
whoever the makeup artist was, I think that's mostly what it is.
We should have brought our makeup artist in, Rhonda, to give us the real scoop.
We're gonna work on an expert panel for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll tell you what's on our radars. That's next.